Welcome to this episode of Associations Now Presents Industry Partner Series, an original podcast series from the American Society of Association Executives. I'm Sharon Pare, Partnerships Director at HighRoad, a HubSpot agency, and your host of this series throughout the year. This episode is sponsored by Visit St. Pete-Clearwater. Today, I'm joined by three fantastic guests. First, I want to introduce Myha Gallagher, Vice President of Brand at Future Partners, where she helps bring meeting and travel industry research to life through data-driven storytelling and insights. Stephanie Alexander-Priakos, I hope I said that right. Please correct me if I didn't. Director of Meetings and Conferences at Visit St. Pete-Clearwater, who's passionate about showcasing the destination's award-winning beaches, culture, hospitality, and group experiences. And Jill Stone, Site Selection Manager with HelmsBriscoe and co-host of the In the Jeans podcast, who brings more than 35 years of experience helping planners create successful meetings and events throughout the world. Today, we're talking about trends shaping the meeting and events industry, and why more planners and associations are looking beyond traditional convention destinations toward places like St. Pete-Clearwater. So I'm going to put a little disclaimer here, because as a Florida girl born and raised, and I think I mentioned this to you ladies before, I have to say it's been really, really fun watching the West Coast of Florida evolve. 20 plus years ago, I don't want to date myself here, but in college, a lot of us on the east side of Central Florida, we just didn't head west all that often. And now here in the 2020s, 2026, I think St. Pete-Clearwater has become one of the most talked about destinations, right? Meetings, events, food, maybe sports, and maybe just the overall experience. So I'm really excited to dig into all of this today. So Myha, I really want to kick off your work with the research, because I think it will frame this entire conversation. So Future Partners, which I know you're very, very heavily involved with that survey, every year you do a survey of meeting planners to understand the trends that are impacting the meetings industry. So what would you say are some of the top emerging trends as it relates to St. Pete-Clearwater?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that, Sharon. Thank you so much for having us on. The first and probably the biggest trend that we see coming out of our latest survey is the rise in interest among meeting planners in sourcing second-tier destinations. In fact, nearly 81% of planners that we surveyed agreed that second-tier destinations are growing in popularity for events. And this is really being driven by the demand for new experiences, a perception that second-tier cities are much safer than first-tier cities, and then cost savings in sourcing smaller destinations as well. And then we're also hearing from planners that their attendees are having convention center fatigue. Just being stuck in the four concrete walls of a convention center can really drain your energy. And so planners are sharing with us that they are looking for more differentiated experiences and, of course, beautiful scenery to keep their attendees engaged and energized. And then lastly, unfortunately, there's been a considerable rise in agreement among planners that politics are having an effect on the destinations that they're sourcing. In fact, 61% of planners said they have had to reconsider a destination due to controversial issues in the past 12 months alone. And in subsequent conversations with planners, they've shared with us that, of course, they're planning events for large groups, many diverse attendees, and they want to make sure that the destinations that they select will be safe and welcoming for their groups. And this is an area where St. Pete-Clearwater has done a fantastic job crafting each message and ad campaign to really showcase how welcoming a destination they are.
So I wanted to dig in a little bit more. You mentioned this convention center fatigue, this attendee fatigue, right? And like you said, a lot of the attendees, they don't want to be within that traditional sense in those four walls of the convention center now, right? So, and perhaps we're going to dig into this a little bit more in the conversation, but can you touch on that a little bit about, are planners now looking for destinations where the city itself becomes part of the entire event experience?
Oh, absolutely. I think that the traditional sense of conventions and convention centers, especially with younger attendees coming into the mix now with Gen Z, planners are really looking for ways to engage that younger audience. And we know There are different tools that need to be used to activate our younger convention attendees. And one tactic is definitely sourcing more unique spaces, making sure you're in a really beautiful environment to keep the energy up. And that's not to say convention centers are going away at all. They serve a very specific and vital part of the meetings industry. But for planners who are hosting smaller groups, not citywides, they are definitely looking towards more unconventional and more unique spaces to host their events.
And to add to that, what right now are planners, and don't worry, Jill, I'll be getting to you soon, but what are they asking for that maybe 3 or 4 years ago they weren't asking for? Is there anything different? Is there a shift that you've seen?
Yeah, the top trend around that, I think it comes as no surprise to anyone in the room, is the use of AI. Many planners are using AI to help with their sourcing decisions, and they're also thinking about ways that AI can be integrated into the meeting environment to personalize meeting agendas for their attendees. And so, like every other industry, AI is making its impact, and it'll be interesting to see how planners continue to leverage the tool to evolve their meetings.
Well, I'm going to bring it over to Jill. And it's really, really interesting, Myha, to hear about the research side of things, because again, I think it's really reshaping how the planners are thinking about some of these things today and how they're planning their meetings. So, Jill, after decades, I don't want to say many, but after decades working directly, well, it just shows your expertise, right? And your wisdom around really knowing your stuff. But after working with these directors and planners and clients after all this time, are you seeing those shifts play out in real time? And maybe you can tell us about a recent experience you had with Visit St. Pete-Clearwater and, tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Myha took most of my answers, I gotta say. But I've got a few left, I think, that maybe I can share. She's right. Clients are looking for lots of different things. Mainly, there's the safety issue is huge. The politics is huge, unfortunately. And I've had clients leave a particular hotel or destination or just totally discount it altogether because of that. And then there's other things that happen, laws that are passed, et cetera, that maybe they can't either agree with or get on board with. But yeah, St. Pete, I just had a client at the Wyndham, Clearwater Beach, and St. Pete was great. They offer free things for clients. I mean, there's all kinds, and I'm sure Stephanie's going to get into all the things that they offer and the things that they can do. But they also help when I'm looking for a destination and maybe I have forgotten one. They're quick to tell me, hey, look at this one too. And what I found, especially when I interviewed Stephanie for our podcast, is that they have some great hotels and resorts of all various sizes. So if a client has a large size meeting, let's say 400 or 500 people, that can be done. But also some of the smaller meetings can be at some of the more boutique style hotels or, those kinds of things. But and one other thing that they're looking for is walkability to things, ease of getting to the destination. Affordability is huge. Second tier destinations like St. Pete Clearwater are very affordable. And yes, I agree with Myha on the convention center fatigue. If they can get outside to the beach and more beach, that makes them happy. And outside venue spaces is key for lunches, breaks, et cetera. So if they can find a meeting space that has an outdoor terrace or a lawn or someplace where they can be outside in a great warm destination, then they will be signing on the dotted line pretty quickly for that. And then again, also St. Pete has the Renaissance Vinoy is one of my favorite hotels, and it is located in a really cool area. Maybe not so much beach, but they've got shops and restaurants and museums and things that are so walkable and people want to get to and experience. So there's all kinds of things you can experience in their destination. All of it, actually. You can have a city experience, or you can have more of a beach experience. So it's really a lot of planners are looking for that now. They've got attendees who want we call it bleisure. They want to extend and they want to go someplace they want to go, and so it's on their bucket list to get to. So those are the kind of things that my clients are looking for. And another thing that's easy for them is if they are just using one hotel, one contract and one contact makes their whole life a whole lot easier too. So anything we can do to help the planners find what they want and with ease and make it easier for them, that's my job to do. And I try to do that every day.
It sounds like Visit St. Pete-Clearwater definitely gets you outside of those four walls because it has so much to offer. You mentioned, having the boutique hotels, obviously, and I know this too, some of the most beautiful beaches. Bleisure, this is my first time ever hearing of business and leisure just put into one, right? What are some of your clients prioritizing the most right now when they're selecting destinations? I know you talked about walkability and some of the other things. Is there anything else that your clients are really looking for too?
Affordability is one of the key things, which it does. Second tier destinations do tend to be more affordable. It's easy to get into their airports, which are smaller. So their attendees don't feel like they're, lost in a huge airport. And typically where they're going is very close to the airport. And no one wants to be, hours and hours away from the airport. So those destinations tend to have, and St. Pete, I know Stephanie will talk about all those things too, but they do have all those things. Depending on where you want to be in their area, you're very close to things. And yes, walkability, though the Wyndham, for example, there was a pier and lots of restaurants just within walking distance. And so it was perfect for both. They got both experiences, the beach and a little bit of the city experience too. So we have to think about not only do the attendees, because they're, kind of pretty much in meeting rooms all day, their spouses want to come and bring their kids sometimes. And so This was the perfect destination for that. And the kids got to be outside splashing around and running around in the sand.
while the other person is at work and
parent is doing all the fun stuff, working. And then they get to go outside too. So it's a win-win for the whole family.
Well, Jill, I think that's such a good setup for Stephanie, because now we've talked about what the planners are looking for. And Stephanie, you're from the Visit St. Pete-Clearwater side. So I want to talk about really what makes the destination work so well for groups. Why is St. Pete-Clearwater a great place to have a meeting or conference?
First of all, going from what Jill had said over here, we do have award-winning beaches. That's what we're famous for with Clearwater Beach and St. Pete Beach. They've had accolades. I've lived here 19 years now, and they've been having accolades of the best beaches in America for as long as I've been here. And I think it's an awful lot longer than that too. But the weather, but this is why I moved here. Coming from the UK, where it rains a lot, it's very gray, it's windy, I'd had enough of it. I needed some blue sky and sunshine. And I've been lucky that I've been in this industry all of my life as well. And I must have traveled to over 80 different countries now, and I've lived in 6 different countries. And there is nowhere else in the world that I would rather live and work than St. Pete-Clearwater. It is just, for me, it has everything that I can possibly want. And I don't think I'm alone, because we get a lot of meetings that are held over in this destination. One, of course, like you said, because of the weather, we actually hold a Guinness World Record, St. Pete does. And it is for the most consecutive days of sunshine in the world at 768 consecutive days of sunshine. So, we have all year round great weather. I love it. The groups are really busy in January and February when it's really cold and snowy up in Chicago or Boston or Cleveland. So we get a lot of people coming down at that time of year just to get a break from the cold weather too. Our hotels are so different. Each and every one has its own unique selling point. Everything from, downtown St. Petersburg, which really has that vibrant arts and culinary feel to it. We have 4 restaurants in downtown St. Pete that are in the Michelin Guide. Every single restaurant in downtown St. Pete, except 2, is independently owned and operated as well. Very proud of that. And like Jill said, everything is walking distance. I will make one correction on the Vinoy, though. It's no longer the Renaissance. It is the Vinoy Marriott Autograph Collection.
Oh, sorry about that. I hadn't heard that yet.
That's okay. And the Vinoy is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. They went through a major renovation. The hotel is just, it's fabulous, very, very Spanish style, a lot of history to it. They have great meeting space. Their largest meeting room is 12,000 square feet. And they have a total of 35,400. So it's a great option in downtown St. Pete. And like Jill said, everything's walkable. It really is. And they have a marina right opposite the hotel. So you have the choice of doing your deep sea fishing charters, go and see some dolphins. It's just about guaranteed. Every time you go on the water, you're going to see some dolphins. We get a lot of people that are asking for natural light in their meetings now. When you mentioned,
that's so important.
Yep. And Myha mentioned, this convention, that they don't want to be in those four walls where they don't know what's going on outside.
Or those basements sometimes. Sometimes you end up in a cave and you haven't seen the light of day for 72 hours. And then by the time you get out of it, it's dark, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
exactly.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So a lot of hotels with meeting space with natural light. We have up and down the beaches too, and in downtown St. Pete. And I think that's really important. But our hotels are smart because they do have the option to bring down those blinds, if they do need to. If people are looking outside and watching the dolphins too much in the middle of the meeting, we do have options. We can fix that. So it's all good.
That sounds sad, but that makes sense. Go ahead, Jill.
I would be watching the dolphins. That would be probably more fun than whatever's on the screen. But no, I like that idea too. And you can see outside when you want to. And like I said, they like to get outside. So if there's a way to do that too, they're happy there. So, and I know Stephanie, you have a lot of hotels with that capability.
A lot of people, are bringing in the wellness tourism into their meetings as well. The wellness, we've got 3 properties that are recognized by the Wellness Tourism Association, which is the Vinoy. We also have the Don Cesar on St. Pete Beach and the JW Marriott on Clearwater Beach. So we're seeing that groups are looking for different experiences as well and incorporating that wellness, into their agenda.
Let's take a quick break and hear a word from our episode sponsor. Whether it's a sunrise walk before sessions or a sunset reception on the Gulf, America's favorite beaches give your event a backdrop that no ballroom can match. The Dalí Museum, Chihuly Collection, and hundreds of murals across the Edge District give planners ready-made cultural excursions that feel curated, not generic. St. Pete-Clearwater has earned national recognition as one of America's next great food cities. From laid-back Gulf Coast seafood to Michelin-recognized kitchens, the range and quality give planners a roster of restaurants that impress any attendee in appetite. To start planning today, visit meetspc.com.
I'll go back to the Don Cesar Hotel, which is another iconic property that we have on St. Pete Beach. They are 98 years old and are going to be celebrating their 100th anniversary soon. And both properties have really great history to it because both of them were actually used as hospitals during World War II. And they've been renovated, and they just look amazing. They look fantastic. The Don Cesar just opened a brand new ballroom with 7,400 square feet. So they have some really good meeting space too. Our newest hotel is the Opal Sol, part of the Opal collection. That's up in Clearwater Beach.
Very nice.
And they have a connecting walkway across the street to their sister property, the Opal Sands Hotel. So we got really excited because the two properties, it's almost 500 guest rooms and 80,000 square feet of meeting space. So even though we are a tier 2, destination, we still can host some of those larger groups.
I was just about to ask that. So thank you for segueing yourself into that. Okay, good to know. Okay.
Yeah. So again, like we said, between the Opal Sol and Opal Sands, up to 500 guest rooms. Tradewinds is our largest hotel on St. Pete Beach with 768 guest rooms. They can also be very creative because they can put tents on the beach too, as does the Sheraton Sankey up in Clearwater Beach. And Tradewinds actually held an event over there with 4,000 people. It's rare that we do something like that, but the capabilities are there. I think the maximum that Sheraton Sankey has done has been about 1,200, utilizing those tents out on the beach. And that's the wonderful thing about this destination, is that they can utilize different things, meeting all day and then go have their reception or their dinner on the beach with their toes in the sand and a drink in the hand, perhaps,
Wait, I have a question about the tents.
Yes.
Were they for sleeping or for like meeting space or something?
For the most part, they use the tents for food and beverage.
Oh, okay. I was just envisioning little tiny pup tents.
No, this will be a really great big tent that
Big tent. Okay, got it.
just gives that little cover. All the sides are open. It just gives it that little cover from the sun, because we have to be a little bit careful. The sun is very strong down here, so we're looking after our clients and want to make sure that everybody's comfortable. So
700 plus days of sun, right?
There you go, 768. Yeah. And also, one of the other things that a lot of the groups seem to really enjoy in our destination is that they get the hotels to themselves. And so I've heard the phrase, they like to be a big fish in a little pond. So rather than being in one of those hotels that may have 5, 6, 7 plus meetings going on at the same time, they literally have the whole hotel to themselves. And that's one thing that they really enjoy doing. And then, we're also renowned for the different things that we have available in our destination. So we do a lot of pre-post room nights for the groups because of that bleisure, like Jill was talking about. They do like to stay, at the end of their conference or at the beginning of the conference. They'll have their family with them or just want to relax for the weekend after the conference has finished. And we have different places like Tarpon Springs is our Greek sponge docks. And that actually is known for the world's largest Epiphany celebration. And they go out and they will dive for the sponges, which are natural. And oh my God, the food is amazing. It really is. We love our food over here too. And then we've got Dunedin, which is our little Scottish village over there. And every April they host the Highland Games. We just had the Valspar tournament up at Innisbrook, which is a real famous golf course. Golfers like Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka, and Justin Thomas that were playing there. We have had Tiger Woods play there as well. We just closed up our Sugar Sand Festival on Clearwater Beach. That's 17 days of celebrating Clearwater Beach's most natural assets, the sugar sand and the sunsets. And there was over 1,000 tons of sand and 24,000 square foot of art exhibits. We also just had our Firestone Grand Prix in downtown St. Petersburg. A little bit like Monaco, they close off the streets of downtown St. Pete and have the race over there.
Wait, what? Those streets aren't that big. How did they do that?
It's incredible to see, Jill. It really is. But they literally close down the streets and they build that, racetrack in downtown St. Pete. It goes past the Dalí Museum.
Well, it's really cool. I just can't imagine getting those cars and then they're as fast. Oh my goodness. Okay, that would be very fascinating to see.
Yeah, that's something to look out for next week, because we did actually get 1.6 million viewers of the Firestone Grand Prix. So, yeah, we have some really cool things that go on down here. And I'm going to just segue into the Dalí Museum, because that's one of the other things that we are famous for. We have 9 museums in downtown St. Pete, including the Dalí Museum. And Salvador Dalí chose downtown St. Petersburg for the only museum that he has outside of Spain. We also have the Chihuly Museum. Chihuly Museum is the only one outside of Seattle, which is where Dale Chihuly lives. And if you're not familiar with the Chihuly Museum, if you've ever been to the Bellagio in Las Vegas, it's where all the glass art is just everywhere.
Beautiful too. Yes.
Yeah. Really good. And we have 600 art murals in downtown St. Pete right now. It's very, very much a vibrant, just an amazing destination. But you can't beat the beaches, like I said. So you have so many different choices of options, places that you can be. I've done site tours with so many clients, and the more I kind of get to know them and kind of feel what they're looking for, I'm going to be, okay, downtown St. Pete is going to be for you. St. Pete Beach is going to be for you, or Clearwater Beach is going to be for you. And that's another thing that we do at Visit St. Pete Clearwater. We live here, we know our destination. So we can help, planners like Jill, if she's not quite sure, what's going to be the right fit, we can make recommendations for them. We really can put the two things together. We can help our meeting planners as well find offsite venues. We've got some great offsite venues. From sunset dinner cruises, we have some really cool boats that we can take up to 350 people for a dinner cruise right now at Starlight Cruises. We just had St. Pete Athletic Club open up, and that is pickleball. But their meeting space, believe it or not, is phenomenal. They literally have 18,000 square feet of meeting space in a pickleball venue. So, we've got restaurants that we can do offsite venues. Clearwater Marine Aquarium. Oh my goodness me. They call it the wall of wonder, because you can actually place your tables and your chairs in this particular area. And then you have the whole glass aquarium where you can see the dolphins swimming past while you're having entertainment, while you're having, again, food and beverage for your group. So we have some very, very cool venues. We can help the planners select everything like that. We highly encourage site visits for everybody. We want them to come down and see the destination. Our planners know their clients and we know the destination. So you put the two together and it's a perfect combination. We will arrange private transportation from the airport for the clients. We arrange all the accommodations and we arrange the whole itinerary. And one of our amazing team members will literally take your client from A to B to C to D and be with them for the whole time and answer any questions that they may have. And then, like Jill was talking about as well, we do have a lot of complimentary services available. One of the things that we have is a welcome sign at Tampa International Airport. So it can be welcome, such and such group. And that's going to be the first thing that they see when they arrive into our destination. And there are 80 direct nonstop flights into Tampa within the domestic United States. And there's 20 direct nonstop international flights. So Tampa, again, a really easy airport to fly into. Voted the number 2 airport in the United States. We're very proud of that too. And you are literally 35 minutes to get from the airport to the beaches. Just coming from a couple of conferences myself in Los Angeles and San Diego, boy, that traffic's bad.
You're not wrong.
So it's a lot easier and a lot faster to get to our beaches, that's for sure. And then the other thing we do with the complimentary services, we have a lot of media and videos available. We even send out postcards if people want, to the clients saying, save the date, can't wait to see you in Clearwater, can't wait to see you in St. Petersburg. So, not many people get nice things in the mail anymore, but you can get a really great picture of the St. Pete or the beaches in our destination. And we do have a few incentives available. So if it helps secure the group in our destination, reach out. That's what we're here for. We want our hotels to secure the business. We're there to help both the hotel and the planners. So anything that we can do, we're here for you.
That's awesome, Stephanie. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to shift over to a little fun section. A few things I wanted to ask about St. Pete Clearwater and basically give our listeners a cheat sheet for some of the things they should do. Stephanie, you gave us a wealth of knowledge around the things to see, the Guinness Book of World Records, the new hotels. Even Jill didn't know about one, and you gave her the news today, right? You heard it here today. So Jill and Myha, I want you guys to participate as well. But I want to have a little bit of a fun time with this. And Stephanie, I know you've been in St. Pete Clearwater for about 19 years, so you might be our expert on this, but I'd love Jill and Myha's take as well. So beaches, if you all had to pick one at a time, which one would you go to? I don't know who wants to go first. It doesn't matter, but I have a few. So
I'm going to jump in real quick over here. Like I said, I've been to so many different countries, and this is absolutely my favorite because of the soft, beautiful white pure sand that we have. We have 35 miles of it. So I can't pick exactly which part.
You've got to pick one though, Stephanie. Got to pick one. We need a cheat sheet.
35 miles of beaches from St. Pete to Clearwater. How's that?
Okay. All right. Jill, what about you?
Well, I like the Gulf areas of Florida because their sand is beautiful. It's not,
Gorgeous.
it's not.
Mhm.
When I actually did take a few minutes last year with my client being at the Wyndham Clearwater. I had 5 minutes. I ran out on the beach as fast as I could, and that
All you need.
yeah, and it was beautiful. And so I got to say, Clearwater. I mean, it really does.
Okay. Clearwater Beach.
And it's not painful to walk on when
Right.
you're trying to get to the water.
How about you, Myha? Your eyes lit up earlier when I said, what is that one beach?
Yes, that one beach absolutely is Clearwater Beach. I am a California girl, grew up in SoCal. And so I never made my way out to Florida until we started working with St. Pete Clearwater. I went out for a meeting, stepped out onto Clearwater Beach, and I was like, I get it. This is why everyone loves this place so much. So yeah, the sugar sand, that is such a perfect description for it. It is ethereal, soft, amazing. Can't wait to go back.
And the sunsets too, right? Everyone forgets, like, you can't catch that sunset on the east side of Florida, but just make your way out west. You'll watch a dolphin jumping through in the water and watching that sunset all at the same time, right? Okay, next, rooftop. Is there a rooftop, a hidden gem rooftop that you would recommend?
The canopy at the Birchwood, downtown St.
There we
Pete.
go. All right. Canopy at the Birchwood. All right. Jill?
I don't like rooftops. I'm afraid of heights. So I really haven't been on too many rooftops anywhere. So I'll just second Stephanie.
Okay. Myha, how about you?
No, I haven't been on a ton of rooftops in St. Pete Clearwater also, but someone from the Visit St. Pete team did take me to the speakeasy where you had to walk through. It looked like a laundromat, and then you had to walk behind the laundromat and you go into this
That's cool.
beautiful speakeasy. I don't remember the name, so if you're listening to this and you want to go, hit up the Visit St. Pete Clearwater team.
It's actually called Dirty Laundry, and it's a really cool place because it looks like a laundromat, but they have a secret door that takes you into the speakeasy. So another great place that we have in downtown St. Pete.
That is very, very cool. That's why it's a speakeasy. Favorite local coffee shop? Stephanie, looks like this one's for you.
Kawa.
What is it?
Kawa. It's Kahwa. Beautiful, local, really tasty coffee.
Awesome. All right. Famous landmarks. Stephanie, I know you mentioned the Dalí Museum. If you had to pick a number 2, any other famous landmarks that people should be looking at while they're there?
Oh my goodness me. You're going to ask me to pick one. Hang on a second.
Just one. Just one. First come to mind.
I'm going to say the pier down St. Petersburg.
The pier?
Oh,
Yep.
Okay.
It's relatively new. It's absolutely stunning. There's so many restaurants over there. Just so many different things to do on our pier. And again, you can hold a meeting there as well. They actually have 10,000 square feet of space at the pier, and you're surrounded by water again on the Tampa Bay area. Stunning.
How about you, Jill?
the Don Cesar. You see
Don
that
Cesar.
building and you know where you are. I was just there last year, and as soon as we saw it, I was like, oh, I know where we are. So again, yeah, one of my favorite well, kind of a famous landmark anyway.
Okay. Myha?
I would say the Chihuly, the glass art pieces are incredible and otherworldly. And like Stephanie said, the only other place to see them is either at the Bellagio or in Seattle. And yeah, it's a can't miss if you go to St. Pete Clearwater.
All right. This one's going to be a tough one for all of you. Your favorite restaurant. Myha, I'm going to start with you this time.
Oh,
we'll leave
gosh.
Stephanie for last.
Every restaurant I've eaten at in St. Pete Clearwater has been fantastic, but the most memorable dining experience I had was actually, it was outside of the Sand Pearl Hotel. They had set up those outside tents, and we were dining on this seafood buffet out on the beach, and it was just so incredible. My CEO and I talk about it all the time because we're big seafood fans, and it was just so special. So any restaurant, and then also dining on seafood on the beach.
Okay. Jill?
Well, you can't beat the beach and the seafood. I actually, the Wyndham's restaurant was really, really good. I know it sounds crazy to eat in the hotel, but it was. They also have a patio that is right on the beach, and so we got a chance to to do a little bit of both. So I really liked that restaurant.
Stephanie?
One of my personal favorites is Coretta's on the Gull, and it is actually inside the Sam Pearl Hotel. But I love their buffets that they do. They do a brunch, they'll do a Thanksgiving, they do a Christmas over there, and the attention to detail and just the standard of their food is superb. Cruel to make me choose one.
I know. All right. Well, we're about coming up on time, but what I wanted to, some final thoughts, right? So if an association planner listening today is considering trying a secondary market for the first time, what would you want them to know about St. Pete-Clearwater?
I would just tell them to just come down and see for themselves.
Jill, Myha, anything from you two?
Well, Stephanie's right. They should see it. They should also really consider that, because what they've been spending maybe in some of the larger cities, they could get so much more in a smaller destination. So they really should. And again, the beach, can't beat it.
St. Pete Clearwater is a slice of heaven. It turned a California girl into a Florida lover. And I can't say that there's any harder task than that. So
well, thank you all, Jill, Myha, Stephanie. This has been such a fun conversation, and I appreciate you all joining today and sharing your perspectives. And honestly, it's really exciting to see St. Pete Clearwater make a name for itself on the map and become a major player in the meetings and events space. So thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of Associations Now Presents Industry Partner Series. Join us each month as we explore key topics relevant to association professionals, meeting planners, discuss the challenges and opportunities in the field today, and highlight the significant impact associations have on the economy, the U.S., and the world. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And for more information on topics impacting the association space, visit Associations Now online at associationsnow.com.